Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome to the Lockhart Radio Podcast. Tonight is Friday, the 15th of August, 2025, and we're looking at two sides of America, two faces of America. We're looking at homelessness and we're looking at what's it all about. We are going to look at a couple of stories today. We're also going to ask some very important questions, about America's two faces. Well, good evening. And that is exactly what we're doing tonight. We're taking a hard look at what's happening on our streets, real people left behind in homelessness, and the carefully staged image that our nation shows to the world as Washington, D.C. clears its homeless encampments right now. Officials frame it as a public safety and cleanliness, which is what a lot of us have heard and a lot of us probably do want, right? But that's the way that it's been framed. It's been framed for us to understand that things have to be about survival. It has to be about cleanliness. It has to be about all of that good stuff. Well, tonight we are going to follow this story from coast to coast. We're going to explore the legal changes that are driving it and the connections with foreign investments. And how about the Olympics? Because I think that has a lot to do with it too. We've got the Olympics coming. So really, I do think we're doing a lot of stuff that's going to make things look really nice and pristine. Don't you? I think it's important to keep up with other countries like Paris. Remember, they did the same thing. Well, there are sweeps underway right now in Washington, D.C. Encampments near the Kennedy Center and the Lincoln Memorial are being dismantled. Outreach teams are offering shelter placements. But for those who refuse, we know that those are going to go to jail. They're going to face arrests or they're going to have fines. Since President Donald Trump returned to office in January, more than 150 arrests this past week has been made, but he has made it his business to make sure that he, stomps down on all of this and gets the area to look good again. Well, the reason that cities can move so aggressively now is because of a major Supreme Court decision. Now, beforehand, it wasn't so, but back in June of 2024, the Supreme Court ruled that enforcing public camping bans does not violate the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. But civil liberties groups say the decision has given cities the green light for sweeping encampment crackdowns. City leaders argue that it's a tool that they've needed to protect public spaces. Either way, the ruling has obviously reshaped policy nationwide. So let's take our tour of what's happening across the country. Let's go first to Los Angeles. Let's look at California specifically. We're going to look at how those homeless encampments and crackdown is drawing a lot of criticism, how it's affecting everyday life there in their city. Now, prior to tonight, you may have heard me mention a couple of things as it relates to California as an example of the homelessness and the way that I feel we're not really being fair dealing with the homeless situation there, only because we all know that we've watched the majority of large cities from Pasadena, Altadena, up in the Malibu area, even Palisades, all of those areas that have burned. And while those areas burned, there was no hope for the housing situation to lend these folks the ability not to be homeless. So let's get into this, and we are going to we're going to get into this article right now. And I just want to tell you, we have to continue to keep people lifted up, Keep interceding for our nation and keep interceding for these people, because this is sad.
Is home to the nation's largest homeless population, many of whom live in encampments, one of the most visible symptoms of the state's dual housing and homelessness crises. Governor Gavin Newsom, whose administration has spent more than $20 billion on housing and other programs, recently urged cities and counties to pass laws that effectively ban, quote, dangerous and unhealthy encampments. While some welcomed the move, as Stephanie Sy reports, others worry about the health impacts on the state's homeless population.
Tucked between a freeway and a waste processing plant in southeast Los Angeles is a community. What may look like things discarded are people's precious belongings.
Everything's ready to go, right?
On a recent morning, outreach workers turn up. Jackie Herrera and David Mendez are moving. The couple can only bring what they can fit into these plastic bags, plus their bikes. They gaze out the window nervously as they're transported to their next stop.
The criteria is, are you here and are you experiencing homelessness and are you willing to come inside?
Carter Hughley is a senior manager at LA County's Homeless Initiative, which runs the Pathway Home program.
You guys will be living together, your own place.
Today was weeks in the making. Herrera and Mendez, along with 21 other households, are moving into temporary housing in area motels.
All of the people going into interim housing today will have on-site supportive services, intensive case management, life skills development, and mental health supports at the location they're going to.
After hours of filling out paperwork, learning the rules, and meeting with a caseworker, they're finally shown their room. The tension of the day seems to fall away.
What did you think when you walked into this room, this air-conditioned room of your own?
To be honest,
yeah, be honest.
Thankful. I was extremely thankful, actually, that I get to fix my life up. Because, like, this was basically, like, what's kind of stopped me in a sense, not being able to, like, you know, on a daily basis shower or whatever and go look for a job or, like,
I have a restroom.
Yeah, and all that.
LA County is banking on programs like Pathway Home to reduce the number of homeless encampments, which ballooned across the state during the COVID pandemic. It's resisted recent calls by Governor Gavin Newsom for cities and counties to adopt ordinances that would effectively ban encampments on public property.
It's time to take back the sidewalks. It's time to take these encampments and provide alternatives. It's time, I think, to just end the excuses.
Newsom's announcement is part of a broader trend toward more aggressive enforcement against homeless encampments across the state.
After a U.S. Supreme Court decision last June made it legal for governments to penalize sleeping and camping in public places, cities like San Francisco, Berkeley, and Oakland, some of the most liberal in the country, began to enforce and adopt measures aimed at curbing encampments. Last November, Garden Grove, a city in Orange County, passed a ban on public camping spearheaded by council member George Brightigam.
Do you think you're a model for other cities?
I know we are. I mean, we've got the best success. I do have fault if that's all cities are going to do is pass an ordinance and shoo off their problems to other cities. I think that's not a very responsible methodology.
Garden Grove had already successfully reduced its unhoused population of only a few hundred people by 39% between 2022 to 2024. It's something Brightigam attributes to providing services such as healthcare and a new regional shelter that offers drug treatment and job training.
We've got all the carrots, and we needed that stick to progress with the harder to get to homeless individuals.
Why did you feel like you needed the stick when you were already enjoying so much success?
You know, we know we're getting the easy ones now. The ones who are willing to cooperate, you're going to have less success when you're dealing with the hard people. And so how do you motivate people to take advantage of the programs? How do you motivate them if there's no consequences for their negative behavior?
We're not very heavy-handed on this ordinance at all.
Garden Grove police officer Jesse Lucatero says his unit prioritizes offering services and shelter and uses the ordinance as a last resort. He says they have issued fewer than a dozen citations since the law came into effect last December.
So like 99.9% of the time when we have like someone that's in violation of this camping ordinance, we get compliance and they will like willfully just move on.
For critics of public camping bans, forcing people to move on is more of a problem than a solution.
It's just like the leaf blowers. You blow the leaves to this side of the street and they blow them right back. That's all they're doing.
Before getting housing and becoming an advocate, Sean Pleasance lived in an encampment in Los Angeles' Koreatown for 10 years. He's been through encampment sweeps.
Sweeps are probably some of the most devastating events that you will encounter as a person living on the streets of Los Angeles. Your journey for housing just gets pushed back again because now you're back in survival mode. All that stuff resets every single time.
That's a pattern Dr. Absalon Galat has seen over and over again. Galat is head of LA County's Street Medicine and Mobile Clinic program, which treats 3,500 unsheltered patients a year.
A lot of my patients are always moving, and they're losing their medications, which are so important in maintaining their health, as well as their documentation that will actually help them go into housing, their IDs, the Social Security. You're taking away that support that people have for one another.
That cycle is made worse with incarceration, which critics warn will happen more often where public camping is made illegal.
I can sympathize with a lot of people who want to address the homelessness issue in California, but criminalizing homelessness and banning encampments is going to make the problem worse.
Dr. Salman Kamal researches the health impacts experienced when the homeless are put in jail.
People with a history of incarceration typically have a harder time finding jobs, finding housing. In the long term, these folks are going to be back out on the streets. They're going to be in a worse situation, and they're going to be farther away from housing.
And farther away from medical treatment.
The discharged people know.
Dr. Absalon Galat says overdose is the leading cause of death among the city's homeless population, and that programs like LA County's Pathway Home support recovery.
Before, our focus was, how can I keep you alive on the street as long as possible so you don't overdose? Our rates of success is much higher with our patients that have been in interim housing, because now they don't have to worry about, where am I going to eat today? Where am I going to sleep today?
County officials say they are seeing promising results overall. In the 2 years since Pathway Home launched, more than 1,600 people have moved into interim housing, and 1 in 5 are now in permanent homes. Back in his motel room, David Mendez, who also struggles with a substance use disorder, is already thinking ahead.
I allowed, my substance abuse, whatever, to just overtake me.
What do you think you're going to get from here that goes beyond having this place? Like, what kind of services do you feel like they can connect you to?
I think the biggest one that matters to me right now is stop using, in a sense.
Mendez and Herrera said this could be the fresh start they need.
Was it a good day, Jacqueline?
Yeah, it was great. It's sort of I
think it was a great day, actually. I'm just happy.
2 Angelenos no longer unsheltered. Still, more than 52,000 others remain on the streets in this corner of the Golden State. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Stephanie Tsai in Los Angeles.
I decided to make sure that I showed that in its entirety so that we get a full scope of one side of the spectrum as it relates to homelessness, especially in large areas like California. Now, as I share with you the grant, there was the Grant's Pass versus Johnson, which has now made it totally okay for them to arrest, to take people away, or to try to help them the best that they can. If they choose not to get the help, then some areas do say, you got to go to jail, which isn't a good feeling. But what I want us to look at right now is the homelessness situation there in DC. I want to juxtapose that to what we just saw, because there's a bit of difference there. But first, before we do that, I want to make sure that we remember to walk in compassion for all of the people that we're seeing on these news articles and clips, because they are a representation of exactly what's going on downtown USA. So anywhere United States, you go downtown, or, some areas you don't even have to go downtown anymore. Some areas you can just walk out your front door and go to the grocery store and you're walking over a person just to get in. So if you are in those areas and that's something that you do see, please remember to keep some compassion in your back pocket for those folks. And remember that if it wasn't for the grace of the Most High, it could be us. That's just my little, soapbox for now. So, Atlanta cleared out the old Wheat street encampment in July after weeks of people getting up, public testimony, and activists pushing back. Officials cited the safety concerns. Everybody seems to be doing that. And critics say that it was displacement without a plan. California, you just saw Governor Gavin Newsom has urged the cities to require encampments to move every 3 days. Over 50 California cities have passed new camping restrictions in the last year alone, and supporters call it public safety. And then the opponents call it the endless shuffle, exactly as this last young man just got through describing. Now, in San Francisco, the Ninth Circuit recently eased restrictions on sweeps, allowing San Francisco to enforce more of its anti-camping laws while still protecting personal property during those cleanups. If we look into New York, Mayor Eric Adams has funded permanent second shift cleaning crews for parks and public spaces earlier this year. The city closed the massive Floyd Bennett Field migrant shelter and relocated its residents. Now, what the people don't know is a lot of those residents ended up going into permanent housing. Let that sink in with the last thing you was letting sink in. And that takes us to how the cities behave when the global spotlight is about to hit. I want to have this wonderful little parallel, and that is the Olympics. Ahead of the 2024 Games, Paris, the officials started to have their camps cleared out, moved thousands of people from the city, and freed up hotel rooms. Human rights groups called it social cleansing, with Los Angeles hosting its 2028 Summer Olympics. Advocates fear similar cleanups may begin years in advance. And it's not just about sports, it's about image and investments. Put your pencil here. The Trump administration and the General Services Administration are preparing to sell hundreds of underused federal office buildings, citing remote work and cost savings. So the remote working, they laid a lot of people off. They fired a lot of folks. And they're saying that this is a way for them to save. Critics warn of undervaluation and the permanent loss of public assets. This is separate from state or city property sales. It's strictly federal buildings. Did you hear me? So that's why I said that it's two faces. It's two faces because the one side, we know that there are a lot of people who are homeless, not at any fault of their own. And then as that last gentleman said that he was using drugs. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that the reason why it's happening right now in DC could be the fact that the Trump administration has some foreign investments to be concerned with. DOCMA's $20 billion data center plan. In January of 2025, Dubai-based DAMAC announced a $20 billion plan to build massive United States data centers. It's private investment, not a sale of government property, but it fits the narrative of cleaning up and courting global business. But while investors get the red carpet, many Americans are being shown the door. So think about that. We are leasing, giving, selling government property in certain cases. And in this case, we're just going to have them come in and build massive US data centers, huge ones. Dubai. So the homelessness today is not just about individuals. It's families, it's children, veterans, working men and women. Natural disasters have driven thousands from their homes. Wildfires in California, the floods that are in Kentucky, Vermont, and Louisiana, the hurricanes in Texas and Florida, insurance gaps, slow aid, and red tape left many people stranded. Housing costs have soared far beyond the wages, creating a working homeless class, while taxpayers go to work every single day, yet they cannot afford the rent. In sanctuary cities, shelters are overflowing, stretched further by an influx of migrants. Instead of building houses or expanding mental health services, the government relies on enforcement asset arrests for camping, placement in overcrowding shelters, or admission to underfunded mental wards. Federal funding for state psychiatric hospitals was slashed during the Obama administration. I'm sure you'll remember that, leaving most states with minimal capacity. This is just a complete, put a little Band-Aid on a really, really deep gushing type of wound. While billions of the U.S. tax dollars are being flown overseas, Americans live in tents, cars, as well as in the shadows. I want you to take a look at what's going on in D.C. right now. And then I want you to, on your own time, make sure that you take a look at what we've talked about as it relates to DAMAC, D-A-M-A-C. Look it up. Let me know what you think about that. Does it seem like something that is fair or equitable for our own people? Or does it seem like we're really just trying to clean up for the company? Let me know.
Order focuses on clearing out encampments being used by people who are unhoused. That's why leaders at Miriam's Kitchen say they expect extra visitors during dinner tonight.
Yeah, the staff say they're bracing for even more than just an evening rush. Jacqueline Quinn spoke with those on the front lines.
Miriam's Kitchen right now is preparing for dinner. We see the chefs here cooking up or cutting up meats for carne asada. They serve about 400 to 500 meals a day, but they could soon see more people lining up. So they'll be one of the places impacted. And earlier, I spoke with a man, Jared Moore, who says he waited a whole year for a housing voucher. In that time, sleeping on buses, benches, and he's worried for others who are coming after him.
I stayed in stairways sometimes. I stayed wherever I could stay, wherever I could lay my hat. That was my home. It was worth the wait. I struggled. But without struggle, there's no progress.
And Jared Moore wonders if the friends he's met can even come to Miriam's Kitchen for a meal or to meet with a caseworker after the president's new order to clear out homeless encampments. And Kirsten Queensland is the chief program officer. She's out on the front lines helping people get off the streets.
We're seeing uncertainty and stress. Both staff are wondering, how do we help people the best with the little information that we have? And then folks who are living in homelessness, living in encampments, wondering, am I going to be cleared out tonight? Can I go to sleep feeling safe? Where should I go?
Currently, an estimated 5,600 people are classified as unhoused in the district, but with only 3,200 emergency shelter beds available, the demand far exceeds the resources. Now, President Donald Trump has said federal agents are clearing out homeless sites and will continue to do so. This raises concerns that services could become overwhelmed.
It has been really harmful to our unsheltered folks who are living in encampments. Moving people from place to place at random is not helpful. It's not a solution. Isolating them from their outreach workers. We have street outreach workers who are connecting people with housing. They're building relationships. And once people move, it's hard to find them again.
I was working, but I lost my job. But like you say, we fall down on hard times. No matter how you fall on hard times are hard times.
And Moore says when it comes to the president's plan, he just hopes it doesn't make things even harder for those trying to get back on their feet. Now, there is a hotline for emergency shelter through DC. That is 202-399-7093. If you didn't get a pen, it's 202-399-7093. In Northwest DC, I'm Jacqueline Quinn, WUSA 9.
Completely unrelated topic. Regarding the president's efforts in Washington, D.C., do you have any specifics about how homeless people will be dealt with, where they would be moved to? What does this look like?
I do, yes. And it's an important question. So thank you for raising it. The Metropolitan Police Department, with the support of the new federal agencies who have been surging on the streets of the District of Columbia, are going to enforce the laws that are already on the books here in Washington, D.C. For far too long, these laws have been completely ignored, and the homelessness problem has ravaged the city. So D.C. Code 22-1307 and D.C. Municipal Regulation 24-100 give the Metropolitan Police Department the authority to take action when it comes to homeless encampments. So homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services. And if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. Again, these are pre-existing laws that are already on the books. They have not been enforced, which is part of the reason for this federalizing of the National Guard to bring in this assistance for law enforcement. While we are targeting criminals and trying to remove criminals off of the streets, we also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals and homeless encampments as well. So we will be using these regulations and code that already exists to clean up our streets, and we've already had great success. Not many of you picked up on this, but the United States Park Police has actually done remarkable work in terms of removing homeless encampments from the city since the president.
She's saying homeless encampments as if people that were homeless were not living in them. She keeps saying homeless encampments. They've done a great job removing the homeless encampments. How about if this chick just said, we had a great time removing all of the homeless people? Because when you just say homeless encampment, that detaches you from the actual fact that it's not just a bunch of rubble with blue tarps. It's literally people. Literally people.
President signed this executive order in March, 70 homeless encampments have been removed by the U.S. Park Police. There are only 2 homeless encampments remaining in D.C. federal parks under the National Park Service's jurisdiction, and the removal of those 2 remaining camps is scheduled for this week. So the U.S. Park Police will be leading this effort alongside MPD.
Just very quickly, he had talked in one of his social media posts about moving them very far outside of the city. Is that off?
No, it's not off. We're exploring how we could do that. But again, homeless shelters, offered addiction and mental health services, or jail if they refuse are the options on the table right now. And we'll.
Oh, shut up. Just shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Little girl, shut up. The devastation that's really going on right now. First, to have to be in that circumstance. Second, to know that if it wasn't for God's grace, it could be me, it could be you, it could be Bob the builder next door to you right now. Just shut up. Because this is really not being thought out. You already know that Obama got rid of the majority, if not all, of the federal hospitals, mental hospitals, state-run hospitals that are very few and in between if you can find a place that has them. Very few and in between. But this is the way that we're handling it. And I hope that everybody's watching the cat's moves. Please watch his moves. Don't listen to the rubble that comes out of people's mouths. Listen to what you see with your eyeballs. Watch them. Watch them. Because if you watch them, you're going to really know their heart. Oh, why didn't somebody tell me I still had this talk about rubble? I still hear that music. I don't know why. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm really done with all the rubble talk. I'm really done. I think maybe you had a visitor come here and he saw all of that stuff going on. And, Donald, I really don't like to come here and see all of these people, how are we going to be, in business together? And I come here all the time and I see all of these homeless people. I just don't want to. Oh, no. Listen, we're going to get rid of them. Don't worry, BB. We're going to get rid of them. I'll figure something out. Well, hurry up, Donald. Hurry up. We've got Dubai coming and we've got all of the other people coming to purchase all of the rest of the land here. And this is just terrible. I don't know what to say.
the fifth deadliest in state history, resulting in 17 deaths and destroying more than 9,000 structures. Thousands of residents are now displaced, but the situation is more uncertain for the area's unhoused.
Former Congresswoman Katie Hill is the CEO of Union Station Homeless Services, and she joins us now with more. Katie, thanks for being with us. USHS, based in Pasadena. So how has this disaster impacted your local unhoused community and your ability to respond to them?
Well, the first thing is that our unhoused community has had to move, right? They've been affected with unclean air and water in the same way that others have. But the real issue is the scarcity of resources that's about to hit in a huge way, right? The housing market was so difficult for renters to begin with. And now everybody who has more resources and more support that they can lean on is going to have the most access to those, to housing and to other units. So we're really worried about what comes next. Right now, I'm so happy that we've been able to support people who are recently displaced and unhoused. We have been taking donations every single day for the last, I don't know, how long has it been now? It feels like a lot longer than it probably has. But we have our adult center where we've been distributing donations, essentials like food and clothes, and bedding has been a common request because a lot of people are actually sleeping in their cars. So every Wednesday, we've got basically a resource center available now. We're trying to kind of scale it to a sustainable ongoing model because we want to make sure that people have a consistent place that they know they can go on an ongoing basis. So we're here. We've been here for the long run, over 50 years, and we're going to be the ones that continue to provide the services as people's resources deplete, as they have fewer and fewer options, and as they find themselves, unfortunately, in the same position that many of our unhoused neighbors have found themselves in much sooner.
Katie, stability, of course, is key, as you mentioned. We also have video of USHS volunteers distributing food and supplies to some of the thousands of people impacted by the fires. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you've been carrying out in response to the wildfires? And you mentioned that you have been getting a lot of donations. What do you still need?
Sure. So the big thing, like I said, is people are asking for new bedding because they're kind of moving all around. They're staying at friends' places. We only accept new items because we just don't have the capacity to sort through the used ones. So we need men's underwear, men's sweatshirts, actually men and women's sweatshirts, things like that. We've been so fortunate with the generosity that has happened. But again, the biggest challenge that we're seeing is that we don't know what people are going to need in the coming weeks and months. So we're trying to stay ready. We need to keep the storage going. We need to keep that consistency of services. We've had FEMA on site to do applications every single Wednesday. We're getting the DMV out there, Department of Social Services, and really just trying to collect people's information so that we can stay in touch with them as more resources come down the pipe. We're really hoping that those federal and state resources come to help with people's rehousing needs. There were so many renters that we've come into contact with that were multi-generational, that have lost everything, and they didn't have renter's insurance, and every little bit that they had before, every bit of community support, as soon as that runs out is when we're afraid we're going to see a huge.
But I want to make sure that I'm going to continue to drive this statement home because I think it's so important when we consider what went on there in California as it relates to those fires. They lost their homeowners insurance only months before this happened, and it wasn't just one or two families, 3 or 4. It wasn't even 100 or 200. It was thousands of people. And those exact same areas were hit. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we don't know that a lot of things do happen on purpose. I'm not about to sit here and play no games with nobody. All right. And for those people who think that I'm some, wee theorist or whatever, that's fine. Like I say, I'll just fix my little tinfoil fedora a little bit to the side and slant it down a little bit right over my eyes so it looks good and sexy. You can talk about me, just spell my name right. That's all. I'm not going to let that go because we all have seen it happen where people like in Hawaii, where they all had the blue, everybody was, escaped. And all those who had the blue escaped, and all these other people were just left. Like I said earlier today, when those things happen, where do the people go if we just stop talking about it next week? If next week comes and those people just had this terrible tragedy hit them last week, where did they go? Have any of them recovered? Have they just moved people from one place to the next? To leave these individuals without any insurance at all was the most treacherous thing that you could imagine. These things could have been planned. We're going to say allegedly that they were. And if they were, we have got to look at the fact that this is a very diabolical and wicked trick. It really honestly is, if we took that lane. But if we don't take that lane, we've got to say that, wow, these coincidences, whew, what coinkydinks are these? These are amazing. At the same time, we cannot forget the fact that these are human beings. This lady just said that they just want blankets. Can you imagine? You go home every night, Lord willing, and you get in your bed. You take your nice hot shower. You may get a little cup of tea or something. You curl up with a favorite book or your pet, your animal. You watch a program or you just read that book. You're able to then get in your bed and snuggle up. You pull your covers up really tight and neatly up under your neck, especially if it's a little chilly out. And you're fine. But these people are moving from place to place to place to place. So much so that that nicely, neatly nestled cover that you tuck up under your chin is now ratted and dirty. They don't have any place to wash it all the time. They're going from friend's couch, hopefully, to friend's couch. And then you don't want to stay your welcome. So now you're out there sleeping in your car, unless they come and take the car because you really haven't been able to be stable enough to keep the bills going. So this is like a ball that just continues to roll. Now you're sleeping in an encampment. God forbid, but that's where you are now. And all they want is underwear. Lord, help us. Lord, help us. Help us, Lord. All these people want is underwear and covers. This is America. This is America. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. America needs an America. America needs an America. We always running up in everybody else's back door, trying to tell them how to live, and here's some money, and here's this, and here's that. Well, now we need one, and have been needing one, and it's going to get worse.
Influx.
You last joined us about 2 months ago, just after being appointed to the LAHSA board. You talked about removing bureaucratic barriers and increasing accountability. Have you had a chance now to sort of look under the proverbial hood and figure out what's needed?
Well, first of all, the challenges that LAHSA faces is largely to do with the complexity of the funding that it's managing and how much of it there is. Every single grant or contract that comes through the state, the feds, the city, the county, all of those are different, have different regulations and requirements. And we're asking LAHSA to distribute that money as quickly as possible while still putting so many restrictions in place, both for the providers and for the agency doing so. So it's literally layer upon layer upon layer of bureaucracy, and trying to sort out how to simplify that is going to be the task at hand for the foreseeable future, because we have changes that are potentially coming where some of the funding is going to go from the county into another county department instead of into LAHSA. Who knows what's going to happen with HUD funding in the next few years, which is a major source of the resources that we use to permanently house people. And it's a very fluid environment. So I think focusing on simplicity, on how we can make sure that LAHSA is the best administrator of these funds, can get it out as fast as possible, is supporting providers, and truly just deploying those resources rather than trying to reinvent the wheel is going to be a focus as well.
All right, keep it simple for sure. Katie Hill, CEO of Union Station Homeless Services, thank you. And also a reminder, if you want to donate, new items only, especially for men, and some bed sheets as well, but new.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Well, I think just from the top, we should acknowledge that no matter where you stand on this homelessness issue, this is shaping up to be a pretty difficult week for people who are struggling with housing in our nation's capital. What you're seeing right behind me is a skid steer pulling away personal belongings of this encampment. There are tables in there. There are appliances in there. There is a bed. It looks like there's a gas-powered heater in there. We are just steps away from the Kennedy Center. And, while it isn't out of the ordinary for local DC government officials to clean up certain encampment areas, I think it goes without saying that President Trump has made it clear with his rhetoric lately that he wants to see homelessness across DC, on federal land or on city land, taken care of, going so far to say that people who are homeless should be sent far away from the capital.
So where are you going to send them, Einstein? Where do you send them? I would have rather have seen them keep those people exactly where they were and set up some fixins. I mean fixins. Fix it first. Fix it. Yeah, the same way that they fixed it when they shoveled all those people across the border and then shoveled them into hotel rooms, shoveled them all over the place, kept them there at the tune of thousands of dollars a month, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. You made preparations for that. And I'm not saying you, but hey, buddy, you are in the same business as the last people were. So you're a part of the issue. You can do it just the same way they did it. Get all the NGOs together. You know how to bring people together. You go around and you just give everybody everything and anything that they want or need in order to cajole them to get together. So you could have done the same thing. This preparation that you did not do is going to be the United States' ruin. It will be our ruin. You could not say, all right, let them sit where they are and then get yourself some project managers to figure this thing out. Yeah. See, if you knew this is what you were going to do because you did, all you had to do was before you got in office, you guys should have been plotting and planning. Yeah. You don't tell me that you care about people and you come in here and do this. And I don't got to be no Democrat. I don't have to be no libertarian. I just got to have a brain and a heart. See? And I didn't even have to go to Oz to get that, Dodo. All you had to do was make proper planning. Now, this is going to be a problem because that's people's stuff. I don't care that they're homeless. Could have been the boy's granddaddy's watch on his arm, but you done went through there and shoveled everything up. It could have been somebody's birth certificates in boxes and bags because they ain't got nowhere else to keep their stuff. And you done went through there and shoveled and ramshacked stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Whoa unto you.
Let me show you guys where we are right now. This is land very close to the Lincoln Memorial. As you can see, right across the street is the Institute of Peace. And what you're looking at are the area that about 12 or so tents were this morning. Many of them have been packed up. And one of the reasons why they're being packed up is because last night at around 10 o'clock at night, a lot of these tents were posted. A flyer was posted to these tents alerting the people who live here, some of them who have lived here for several months, that they have to go. And that everything is going to be cleared at 10 o'clock today. And you can see that is slowly happening. I will say people have been voluntarily packing up and cleaning, but I want to show you what has been going up on some of the tents at these homeless encampments around the city. So this is a scheduled encampment cleanup, which includes immediate disposition and the site closure. So people were warned, not with a lot of time, that they have to pack up their belongings and move. And we have heard both from DC government officials and the White House that shelters will be offered, mental health services will be offered, addiction services will be offered. I shot some video a couple moments ago, again, showing people slowly and voluntarily leaving this area. And it's a striking scene, you know, to see people packing up their belongings in shopping carts. And we were able to speak to one gentleman, David, who's 67 years old. He's lived at this spot for the past 7 to 8 months. And I just asked him, how do you feel about the president's comments, ramping up his rhetoric, targeting folks who are homeless? Here's what he said. Take a listen.
Well, I look at it as anti-Christian. I remember the passage of, as you have done unto the least of these, you have done unto me.
Yep.
And the idea that he's targeting us and persecuting us feels wrong to me.
There are also demonstrators who came out today, like this woman holding a sign saying being unhoused is not a crime. Some people have signs with scripture from the Bible. And I will say, although this encampment only had about a dozen or so tents, the turnout here has been well into the dozens. I mean, dozens of people from local nonprofits, from local church groups coming to assist in any way they can as folks who are struggling with housing in DC slowly pack up. A lot of confusion as to where people are going. But again, we have heard from the White House and from DC local government officials that they're not just kicking people out. They say that services whether it's a shelter or mental health services or addiction services, are being offered to the people who are being told to clear where they live. Guys, back to you.
So, Joseph, a question for you. Somebody like David, did he say that he would take the option of being transported to a shelter, or what has he chosen to do?
David, I believe, left his tent was right behind this tent right here. But earlier this morning, when they were setting up some of this caution tape here, there were some comments from residents of this encampment, including David, asking the city officials, like, who's going to come here and communicate with us? They weren't getting a lot of answers from those city officials who are just seemingly like frontline employees doing what they're told, putting up the tape. They were just saying, hey, somebody's going to come and talk to you. So I think as much as we hear these answers from the White House that services will be provided, there's still on the ground a lot of confusion. I mean, a lot of these people learned only a day ago that they were going to have to pick up all of their belongings and go somewhere else. So every situation seems to be a little bit different here. And of course, all of this comes at a time where even though DC local government officials have worked at encampments before, this is coming at a time, as you know, that the president has made some pretty harsh comments surrounding the homeless population in DC.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what the government, because I'm not letting nobody off the hook. I'm not letting anybody off the hook. Just because another cat came in after the last cat is still the government. And that's how I'm going to look at it. So I want you to take a look at this, because it's the same exact mindset that brought these people in that are now kicking these out.
Portland isn't the only municipality in the situation. Some other smaller communities are preparing to do their part. The town of Brunswick is expecting to welcome dozens of asylum-seeking families from June through October. They'll be living in new housing on the old Naval Air Station base. News Center Maine's Chloe Thibault has more about how officials are preparing.
Now let that shit sink in. Dozens of asylum-seeking families are going to live in old military barracks. Now, we've got homeless veterans, people who, unbeknownst to them, went out and fought a battle that wasn't even theirs or had nothing to do with us. It could have been about everything from the Nephilim's DNA all the way to gold. Who knows? But they were fighting. They were fighting. And they lost limbs. And they don't have a place to stay. But let's let these people, dozens of asylum-seeking families, mostly men with no children, and the ones that you're going to push in front of the camera is simply for aesthetics.
It's exciting. We're an older state. We need young families. We need a workforce.
An exciting era for Brunswick as town leaders prepare to welcome more asylum seekers to the area.
We're expecting about 60 new families to join us over the summer and into the fall.
Brunswick Town Councilor Abby King says these families will be living in 5 new buildings on the old Naval Air Station base with 12 1- and 2-bedroom units each.
It's just not something that one community can do or even one region in the state can do.
Brunswick Town Manager John Eldridge says he recognizes larger communities like Portland need help managing a recent surge in asylum seekers, but this is still a big change for Maine's largest town.
We had a group of about 20 families come in 2019. This is obviously 3 times that.
We weren't very prepared with our first group of families. We learned from that.
Brunswick's Director of Human Services, Deb Crocker, says she's looking for local volunteers to lend a hand.
Help families learn English, take families to their medical appointments, show the families around their new surroundings.
The Brunswick School Department is also preparing, expecting we'll see quite a few new students, especially young students.
We need teachers who will be teaching English to students who are coming with a varying levels of language proficiency.
Varying levels that can pose a challenge to learning.
We need to help our teachers learn how do you meet that wide range of learners that aren't coming in all knowing the same thing, and try to get them to grow and advance and learn to high levels.
A lot of questions with just months to answer them. In Brunswick, Chloe Thibault, News Center Maine.
Okay, this is America. This is America. That is what I'm talking about. How we can do so much for others and put on a happy face and pretend like we got our shit together. Like we're just the ones to we got the money, we can help you. And yet this guy is allowing somebody to whisper in his ear again. He is such a person who loves shiny objects. The next new thing, he jumps on it. He did the same thing with Fauci, knowing good and well that what he was listening to didn't sound right. That ball that he jumped on top of and tried to balance himself on started years and years before. But because he wanted to be a part of the party with all 35,000 of his relatives that were all former presidents, cousins, them, and uncles and daddies, he just had to play his part. And now he's got somebody else in his ear. He's got somebody else in his ear rotting his brain. And he's listening to them. And while he's listening to them, they're embarrassing the nation even more than it has been. You add this to what we had the last 4 years and the 4 years before that, when all they did was rode Trump like a Bronco bull. I voted for the man. It was terrible to see what he experienced that first time. They rode him all those 4 years. They rode him for filth. And then even after the next president, it was in everything that happened was his fault. Now he's back in and he's got somebody else in his ears. Let me tell you something. It really concerned me when I saw him not having good judgment. When I saw his daughter's husband, who was wrapped up, all entangled, looking like a hairless cat, with Soros. They had the business together, the building out there, the 666 thing, right? Yeah. Couldn't be any more in your face than that. And then it dawned on me. Wasn't that daughter the daughter of the jaded wife? Yeah, she is the daughter of the jaded wife. And so she may not like her daddy that much. Why? Why do I say that? Well, because her husband was wrapped up, tangled up, and tied together with somebody that everybody been trying to get. And now United States loves to make this guy the big bad wolf. Well, really, he's just who we see. He ain't the wolf, baby. I don't even think he's still with us. Not in this realm anyway, right? This cat had no clue that his daughter did not like him at all. Not to mention the fact that there's probably some things about her upbringing that she really didn't care about as it related to her relationship with her father. But I will definitely tell you that that woman and her husband was in this dude's ear along with others who really made him think that the decisions that he was making was great. And now he's got somebody else across the water and here that's turning this place into some place that it was never meant to be. Now, I know there are a lot of people who are believing that, you know what? He just got rid of this constitution and he just got rid of this. And now he got rid of the organization or the corporation. And now he's about to show everybody who he is. Baby, if this is an indication of there being some type of restorative process for our original country, then I shudder to think what he got next. Because this right here is just the tip of the iceberg. I know her mama had her heart twisted where her daddy was concerned. And she and her husband made sure that they put as much trash in his head at that time that they could. And it showed. He made poor decisions. He had poor relationships. He had terrible people in his ear and around him that did not mean our country any good. He kept all the holdovers instead of releasing everybody of their duties and going in, starting out fresh. Even Clinton's wife did it. When he stepped in, what did she do? Homegirl had enough sense, and I don't like her, but she had enough sense to know how to clean house before she went in. This cat didn't, and then he ruled the day. Now we rule the day because, again, here he is with his shiny ferret syndrome, jumping on everything new and newfangled. Isn't it ironic that the same man they said let a black woman stay in one of his hotel rooms there in New York rent-free, bringing her brand new wonderful flowers every single week, would now do this? Think about it. Would there be any more odd behavior than this? Yeah, remember how they pumped that story out there into the ether? How they told us, yeah, he gave flowers and gave this lady, a black homeless woman, a place to stay when they wanted to put her out. And he found out about it and said emphatically, no, you will not put her out. So you think that's the same man if he can hone in secretly, quietly, prior to him even, being out there in the forefront the way that he was, that he could do that and now he's doing this? How is that the same character? Because I'm going to tell you something. If I'm like that today, I'm going to be like that tomorrow, baby, because I've been there. I've been there. There'd be no way I would do somebody like that. No, I'm going to tell you, you stay here. I'm going to say to you, you know what, Rachel, you stay here. Sandy, you stay here. Michael, stay here. Black Spring, you stay here. Are you sick of it? Stay here. Sarah, stay here. Let me go fix this. Now, y'all stay right there. Don't move. I'm going to make sure y'all got something to eat, and we're going to get rid of all the old bedding, everything that's old over here. You guys, I got a credit card. I'm going to go ahead and buy it for you myself. Throw away all this old ratty stuff, you guys, and I'm going to get y'all some fresh undergarments, and I'm going to make sure y'all got some fresh covers. And if you haven't eaten, let me know. Make sure I get y'all some food. Matter of fact, don't even worry about it. I'm having them bring you some food. Y'all like wine? You want some beer? It's been a minute since you've been able to chill. We're going to give you a little bit of something. If you don't have no problems with alcohol or whatever, come on and get yourself a beer or a pop or whatever it is that you do. Be normal for at least 15 freaking minutes of your life. Not worrying about if somebody going to come bop you upside the head and shovel all your stuff and throw it in the garbage can as if you don't count. So how do you have that kind of heart to take this alleged Black African-American woman and give her one of your rooms in a high-rise hotel and send her flowers, and yet you can do this right here? This ain't you, right? Or is it? Will the real Donald Trump please stand up? Please stand up. What's good? Where you at? I'm waiting. Then after I get everything all together, I'm going to come back and let y'all know, okay, you guys, boom, got you. I made a couple of moves. I have some friends over here that's got a couple of apartment complexes. They're going to take care of you guys for the next 6 months. But in the interim, I'm going to make sure that you guys get some kind of little jobs. I've already had some of my people reach out, and we've already got a few market. Somebody can go work over here at one of the markets. We got a couple of people over here who can go to the barbershops and sweep up hair. It ain't much, you guys, but at least it's something. And in that 6 months, y'all ain't got to pay nothing. Go ahead on and stack up your chips. And while you stacking up your chips and you getting yourself together, you're going to get a little bit of your shoulders squared up. Why? Because somebody giving you some dignity. They're helping you. You helped the Black woman that you sent flowers to once a week and gave her the room scot-free. How dare anybody call themselves a servant of this nation and any other place, and you can't serve nobody? You just gonna have people stick signs and notes on tents to say, be up and gone by tomorrow. Yeah, you bad. But I tell you what, this place is in for it, baby. This place is in for it. Hey, Betty, this place is in for it. Done for. Yeah. So sweeps are happening nationwide under this new legal authority. Disasters and home prices are driving more people into homelessness. Federal buildings are on the auction block. Foreign investors are building billion-dollar projects right here in America. And the president is managing both domestic crackdowns and major foreign diplomacy. It's a damn shame that in the richest nation on earth, we're asking families to pack up and disappear so visitors and investors can feel more comfortable until we choose to house the people who built this country. Homelessness will remain not a crisis of money, but a crisis of priorities. I'll be back. Right after this. Hey everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do, because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore, because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce. You'll be glad you did, and you're going to tell me about it. I know you will. So as we come to a close of this program, I just want to say for everybody watching, we know what we just saw tonight with all the news clips that we've reviewed and that we've looked over to include the young lady that was speaking on behalf of the president and his novel idea of, cleaning up those streets. We know that there are, significant reasons as to why this is all happening and why these specific areas is putting on the dog, as it were. We already understand that it's because they have to put faces that look right when people come in from foreign countries. I think that they were very disillusioned when San Francisco had visitors from China roll through there, and they had human excrement all over the grounds, that they were actually paying people $20 and $30 an hour to get out there and clean up human excrement at their own health's peril, or taking the opportunity to catch some type of, bloodborne pathogen or, airborne pathogen from the fecal matter and all that other stuff. But here's $30 going out here and clean it up because China wants to come and see what they've invested in. And I ain't going to bite my tongue. I said it. So it's the same thing here. It's the same thing here. That's what's actually happening. We got to put on the dog. We got to put on the show, because if we don't put on the show, then the investors won't go. They ain't going to give us no money. They're not going to come in here and buy up stuff lock, stock, and barrel. And we need them to do that, because see, none of this stuff was theirs. I just need to lay this down right now. And I really wish that I had this in my arsenal. There's an article that I don't know if I can pull it up fast enough, but in order for me to say what's on my mind, I think I better. But there are so many things that are happening under the wire right now that it is going to piss a lot of people off, and it's going to make some people happy. Well, you can't make everybody happy all the time, right, baby? You can't. But I'm going to hold that for another day. I don't want to conflate the two. I want to make sure that we keep our minds focused on this. But what I will tell you is that this place, the whole damn town needs an enema. Okay, the whole place. This is something that we all need to think about, and we all need to make sure that we're looking out for folks. If you don't talk to a family member or a friend or somebody who you thought may have been having a bad time at one point, check on them. No, you may not have $1 million, you may not have $1 or $10, but you could at least go over there and check on them. Because sometimes people are going through stuff before they ever get to where you see these homeless people get. And I'm not just talking about those who were, afflicted by fire, because that's not something that they could have, dealt with. But what about the other people? What about the folks who lose their jobs? Everybody's running around saying that the economy is great, from Biden all the way now to this joker. It's not great. People are losing their jobs left and right. Go check on your friends. If you're thinking about them heavy, it's because there's something up. You got a few superpowers that you don't know about. And if you're thinking about them, you need to check on them. Check on your friends. We got. Black, white, purple, yellow, green. We got. Because it's apparent that they're not going to get any help unless, of course, they go outside. Well, it's too late now. I was going to say go outside and come back in the other side of the border. Had this happened about, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago, you probably would have fared a chance. If you could have pretended like you were a mute that couldn't speak English or any other language, which is why you'd have to pretend to be a mute, you could have been just fine. Maybe I could have pretended like I was one of Honduras or something like that. I probably wouldn't have the problems. And maybe I would have a car. Maybe I would have some transportation. Wouldn't have to be scraping around getting coins together to go get a lift just to go to the grocery store because I don't want to pay the rental or the amount that they charge you to order from Walmart or order from Kroger or whatever. Maybe I just want to get $6 and go down the road. People need you to look after them. We need to look after each other because it's apparent that who claims they're going to won't. See, here's the problem. Because we've been put in a situation here in the United States where there has been help, right? Because they jacked everything up. Let's start there. We talked about that this morning when we were talking about the food deserts over on Lockhart Perspective. How they made everybody give up their right to cook their own fruits and vegetables that they grew in their yard. Remember when we used to go and put the clothes? I'm old enough to remember we used to put the clothes on the clothesline. Things never went dirty because you always washed, you always got them clothes rinsed, and you always put them out there on that line. When you were hungry, you would just go out and pull up some fruits and vegetables. We're going to have greens today. Well, there's some greens that we just pulled up. Let's eat the greens. Let's eat some potatoes. Let's eat. But you lost all of that when they started with everything being better for you. Here, we're going to do it for you. That's how we ended up here. And that's why I have to start by saying, look out for one another, because those who try to replace your independence ain't got your best interests at heart. That's the reason why they stripped you of your independence. Again, black, white, yellow, purple, green. See how that works? We all own the same playing field. Because there's one coin, two sides. It's us and you. It's them and us. Two coins. One coin is you, one coin is them. But on theirs, they got two sides. Janus in every way. Janus in every way. One head, one set of wings, one chicken, two wings. See how that works? Look out for your friends. Call your people. Make up with your family. I ain't saying let somebody run over you, but I am saying look out for your people and determine who your people are now while you still got a cruise of oil and some flour in your kitchen cabinet. Determine who your family and your friends is now, baby. We've been talking about this for a minute. Remember what our boy Roy always says, prep, pray, stay out the way. But he's been saying that for a minute. Everybody like, that's a great saying. That's a great saying. It's on its way to where you're going to need to do that more and more, all of us, because this right here is ridiculous that we in the quote unquote most richest nation, the richest nation in the world, has this type of stuff where the president is, he would rather get it out of his eyesight than know that it exists. See, that's exactly what it is. Out of sight, out of mind. If I ain't got to see you, then I don't know you exist. We're going to put you far, far away. Then what is it going to be? Soylent Green? 1972, Charlton Heston? Soylent Green is people? Where the people going? Where the people going? You got folks missing in California, and I've heard some stories from people who live in California that I know about where some of them people is going. It's a nightmare, baby. Yeah, this is America. This is America. This is America. You got strangers living better than those who pay taxes. Meanwhile, some of us have applied for Social Security, and there were people coming across the border who never put in and immediately were given Social Security disability. Don't forget, we ran that story. We ran that a couple of years ago where we showed how people were coming across the border and they weren't just getting Social Security. They were getting Social Security disability. I appreciate each and every one of you for sharing the past hour and 8 minutes with us here on Headlines with a Voice, Lockhart Perspective. I do want to thank you guys and let you know how much you are so very much appreciated. You are appreciated. You are loved. You are all of that good stuff. What else can I say? You guys are the best. And you know it. Y'all know y'all super bad. You guys know you're super bad. But listen, we'll be back tomorrow, if not later on tonight. We've got some hours that we've got to make up before we go into the end of this month. So we are going to be doing some very long stretches. That's why I asked you guys for opinions about what you wanted to talk about earlier today. Bring up a topic and let's hash it out. Let's look it up. All you got to do is put it in the chat. I'll look it up and we'll all talk about it in a relaxed fashion. Doesn't have to be anything all dressed up. No bow ties necessary. Please don't come in here and no pump Jensen's. Stacey Adams are optional. You don't have to wear those, sir. Top hats can wait at the door. Check your jackets. Come on in. It's going to be fun. Okay. All right. We want overalls and boots. That's what we want. We want the sandals. We want overalls. We want boots. We want 50. What do they call them? 501 jeans. We want some Levi's. We want the comfort stuff. That's what we want. We don't want nobody coming in here all extra. We want you to be comfortable. Unbutton that top button on them pants because you know you got the Dunlap. Go ahead on and get comfortable when you come in, baby. That's what we want you to do. Okay. All right. Thank you so very much for tuning in. And remember what we always say, take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of you, nobody else is going to do it either. My name is Felicia Lockhart, and I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to Lockhart Perspective here on Headlines with a Voice. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Lockhart Perspective. Helping you along the way. Helping you to make it through another day. Yeah. Everything you need to know that you never knew, that you need to know. Lockhart Perspective. You know what? I got to break character for a minute here. I know we're trying to get up out of here. But Ronnie said, topic Anunnaki. All right, let's do it. Let's rumble. Let's roll. Let me know when we going to do it. Okay, everybody? That's the topic. The next topic that we hear is going to be about the Anunnaki. That's, hey, I laid it out there. I said choose a topic and talk about it. So I had to come back and break character. As right before I began to hit the stream, I saw this message and I was like, oh, so you want to hit somebody in the pinky toe, do you? All right, we got it. The next time you guys hear my voice, I'm going to be accompanied with my brother. We are going to discuss the Anunnaki. Anu, Inky, and Lil. We got it going on. That's what we're going to do. All right, you guys. Peace, peace, peace. Lockhart Perspective.